We need a name for the podcast, and I was thinking we could go with something just kind of completely innocuous in that, and I was just thinking like that one sports podcast.
Yeah.
Just something
Yeah,
simple.
I like it.
That one sports podcast.
If
You listen to
something
that
comes
sports,
to me-
you listen to that podcast? Which podcast? That sports podcast. What sports
Yeah, yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
That sports podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
you mean that sports podcast? Yeah, I'd watch that. I'd listen to it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty soon people will be like, it's that sports podcast.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
So we got some work to do first before we do that. And
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of That Sports Podcast. I am Brandon. That's Anthony. And today on the show, we have with us Nick. Say hi to everybody, Nick. Come on. Wave a little bit. Give us a little bit of emotion,
What's up,
man.
What's up, everybody? How are you?
Be a little bit more excited to be here, bro. We are excited to have you. Anyway, all right. So
Nick,
let's
I'm
get
trying
started.
man.
I'm trying to match Tony's excitement level.
oh, come on. I got the
All right.
Rangers jersey on right now. I'm
Anthony,
excited.
if you won the lottery, you'd be like, oh wow.
Stop it.
All right. So since you guys got the hockey gear on, we may as well start it off with some hockey. Anthony, if you want to go on ahead and kick this segment off.
All right. So, Nick, I see you got your Rangers gear on. You know what tomorrow night is at the Garden. They're celebrating Henrik Lundqvist's fantastic 15-year career as a New York Ranger, as a franchise goaltender. They're going to retire his jersey number. It's going to be up there in the rafters with some of the greats in Rangers history. So, on top of that, Matt Zuccarello will be returning to the Garden as a member of the opposing team, the Minnesota Wild. So just tell me, there's a lot of emotions going through you. What's tomorrow going to feel like for you?
Yeah, good to see Henrik's buddy Matt Zuccarello back in the Garden. He should still be a Ranger. It's going to be an emotional night. My sister somehow luckily ended up getting free corporate tickets for a suite. I mean, this is like
Whoa.
an $800 game, so I'm very jealous of that, but wish I could be there. But yeah, I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, he's our guy. He's our generation's, player, and 15 great years with the team. Wish he was still playing now. I think if he didn't have to have open heart surgery, he probably would have been the Rangers' backup this season because, as you know, the current backup, Tony, isn't that good. It was a real shame to see him leave last year and sign with the Capitals, but he never played with them, so he's only a Ranger, and he's been great on MSG networks this year, and he's going to be the next big star in broadcasting. You saw him do some studio work on TNT, but this guy's going to be the guy. He's the next Eddie Olczyk here. He's going to be the main analyst in hockey. Dresses great, looks like $1 million. He's worth $1 million. And Rangers are going to make millions of bucks off this retirement night, and so much merch and everything, and really excited to watch it. And luckily, after some really dark years here, the Rangers are actually good again, competitive team.
Yeah, absolutely. I've watched Henrik on the post-game shows. He's pretty good. I think he's learning. Stephen Valiquette. I like Stephen Valiquette too. What do you think about him?
He's solid. I mean, I miss Ron Duguay. I mean, he didn't dress too well, but I always enjoyed him. And the Valiquette's pretty solid, but I like Lundqvist more, of course.
Wait, Duguay didn't dress very well?
No, you never saw Ron Duguay. He's always wearing mismatched, floral pattern things.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff.
Now I remember. I know that he always had his hair kind of poofed up or some kind of.
He was a rock and roller. He never wore a helmet.
Yeah.
He played.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he played during the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just I'm curious. Mark Messier's retirement ceremony is infamous because he cried profusely during it. Do you see or foresee Henrik doing the same?
Well, I heard Henrik has about 50 people coming in from Sweden, and they're probably get stuck in New York with a big snowstorm this weekend. And he's got about 50 people coming from all over, so there's going to be 100 people there. I think he's going to get it pretty emotional. I'm sure his brother Joel will be there, and he might get choked up. I hope we see a lot of his former teammates there, which would be great. I hope John Tortorella is there because he and Henrik were great together. I want to see Jaromir Jagr be there. He won't be though, but remember this when Henrik Lundqvist started his career, it was right at the year after the whole season was missed. Rangers had Jagr. It was Jagr's team. Henrik was the timid little rookie goaltender, but it became Henrik's team, and he became one of the best goaltenders of all time in the history of hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And, Jagr was there for a short period of time, but I believe he is the last Rangers player to score 100 points, maybe one of the only in history. And I'd have to go look at that one.
Is Chris Kreider going to get 100 points this year? And why is he the captain?
Chris Kreider is going to get 30 goals. I know that.
He already has it. He already has 30 goals.
He already has it. Sorry. He just got it. So can he get 100 points? He just doesn't have the playmaking really ability, in my opinion.
He's in the league in points right now, so we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, he's got as good a shot as he's ever had it, but on that team, we're relying on guys like Panarin and Strome to really do the playmaking. But I think, Kreider is an exciting year for him. And every time I listen to the analysts talk about him, they're talking about how he has a plan for every game now, and that he's just dialed in. I mean, like he's a complete hockey player, right? He checks, he skates hard, he's playing defense, and he goes to the net and scores goals. So it's very important that the Rangers have him healthy for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and the goaltending situation is also kind of interesting. But I think as long as Shesterkin is healthy, then it's in good shape.
He gets hurt a lot though.
And he's already had a couple of injuries this year. I mean, they have to protect him. One of the big storylines of the Rangers is that they let guys run over their goaltender, and that happened already earlier in the year. And I understand that they got bigger. They got Ryan Reeves in there. But Jacob Trouba's played very well too. He's been very tough this season. Do you see that being an issue going forward?
Yeah, I think Igor Shesterkin's help will definitely be an issue going forward. If he misses any playoff games, then they're going to be in trouble because Georgiev tends to give up like 4 or 5 goals per game.
All right, that's not a big endorsement of Mr. Georgiev, but it's the way it is.
I think they need to unretire Henrik Lundqvist's number and let him play.
Listen, Lundqvist could come back anytime. Trust me. And you know what? I read an article the other day. It said that he wanted to play until he was 41 or 42. So that was his plan. Obviously, he went to the Capitals right after leaving the Rangers. And obviously his plan was, that's a good team. Hey, I could stay here a couple of years.
Right.
Hopefully
win a Stanley Cup with Ovechkin.
Yeah. Just wasn't in the cards. Do you think the Capitals, by the way, one of our last points in hockey, what do you think of them? Are they past their chances of winning another cup, or a dangerous team?
I mean, as long as you have Ovechkin, you're a dangerous team. So I don't know if they're going to win this year, but I wouldn't rule them out from making another run as long as Ovechkin continues to play at the high level he's playing at.
But it's a one-man show in a way. In other words, like he's the guy, who's going to drill the one-timer on the power play and power the team. On the other hand, you got some other interesting teams. You got the Florida Panthers right now who are doing very, very well. I believe they're tops in the Eastern Conference. So what do you think about them?
Panthers are really good. The Hurricanes are good. And in the West, the Colorado Avalanche are really good. And the Golden Knights are good. I don't like their coach and DeBoer, but they're only going to get better when Jack Eichel makes his debut later on in the season.
Ooh, all right. Let's see. All right. I think we did it on hockey. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, let's since we got Nick on here, let's go on ahead and jump to the playoffs this weekend. We got some more football. Thank God. I love it. I love this new long season, more games to watch and stuff like that, shortening that preseason up, getting the playoffs more, getting more games. Anyway, so the first matchup we have in the AFC, the Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. who's coming out on top? Let's start with Nick.
Well, everything statistically and betting odds would tell you the Chiefs, but I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this game. They just seem like they're on a roll right now. They have the momentum. Joe Burrow just has this energy about him where he's like, I don't care, sack me 9 times. I'm going to get up 10 times and I'm going to score. We're going to score. The last time these two teams played, the Chiefs were up big in the regular season. Bengals came back to win 37-34. Jamar Chase had over 200 yards receiving. So I don't think they found a way to stop him yet. And also, I want to give a shout out to Evan McPherson, the kicker of the Bengals, who is just incredible. Right now, we all know Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the league, but this is going to be the next best kicker in the league. He was the only kicker drafted this year in the 5th round, too. And he's just been incredible. He had so many field goals the last 2 weeks. And I think in this game, it might come down to a field goal. And if the game is on the line, as we saw last week, he's going to be ready for it. That moment won't be too big for him.
Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, I think you bring up some very good points. I do like Burrow and how he's playing right now. But what we saw last week with the Chiefs is that even when Josh Allen was on his game and, Patrick Mahomes was equal to the task. And so I like Mahomes, but I'll leave that out of it. I think that, I think it's going to be really an interesting game. I mean, this is one of the best quarterback duels that we're going to see. I mean, he's emerged as one of the best quarterbacks this season. He's leading a Bengals team who, nobody really thought would make it this far. And I think that, now he's going up against Mahomes, who's already got a Super Bowl, who's an established presence in the league. So I think it's going to be very interesting. Who do I have? I think when push comes to shove, I think if we get in another game like we had, Bills, Chiefs, 42-36, I think the Chiefs are going to come out on top. So I think it's going to be very close.
The Bills, they should have won that game. I was so disgusted about the way they ended. But I read, in the last minute and 47 seconds, Josh Allen had more passing yards than the Giants had in their last 4.5 games. And they also scored, and in the last 2 minutes, the Chiefs and Bills combined scored more points than the Giants in their last 4 games. So I hope things change for the Giants because it's brutal. But we saw this week they said, oh, they're going to stick with Daniel Jones. So more brutalness ahead for the Giants.
Yeah, I really don't like Daniel Jones. I'm very vocal about that. I think he's a second-rate quarterback at best. He's good enough to get the job done in a pinch, but he's not somebody I want them to hang their franchise hope.
He's a good backup. I mean, he can't stay healthy. He's always if they're gonna bring Daniel Jones back as a starting quarterback, you better not bring back Mike Leonard as the backup.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Based on the end of the season, though.
All right, so I'm going to stay with Kansas City. I mean, I thought Josh Allen put a stake in, the heart of Kansas City at the end of that game with that dagger of a throw. I mean, honestly, it hit me in the heart like a knife. That's how much it was exciting. Like, it was like, wow, how do you steal the game like that? And then to watch Patrick Mahomes promptly march his team down with less than 20 seconds left in the game, get them into field goal range on 3 plays? I think it was 2 or 3 plays that they got down there into field goal range and take it into overtime. And then he does it again, just marches them right down the field. And I mean, as much as I would like to say that the Chiefs are going to lose it or they could possibly lose it, I can't fight that magic anymore. I mean, you thought the Bills were going to win that game, and Patrick Mahomes found a way to pull it out. And I think they're going to do it again against the Bengals. I think the Bengals will make it tight. I think they'll make it interesting, and it could be just as close and exciting as the Bills game, but I think the Chiefs are going to pull it out.
One interesting point is basically, do you think that Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen? And can he sort of put it out of reach at some point? I mean, the Chiefs defense didn't play very great. I mean, there was that one touchdown pass down the left side of the field where a guy tripped up and he was wide open in the end zone, right, for the Bills. So, can Burrow exploit the deficiencies in their defense, in the Chiefs' defense?
It's a good question. That's a good question. I mean,
Nick?
yeah, go ahead. You can pop it
Sorry.
off. No, you're good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I said the Bengals are going to win, so I definitely think they're going to exploit. And Jamar Chase is going to have another great game against the Chiefs.
Okay.
I think
Interesting.
I don't think Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are too far apart. I mean, Josh Allen has matured a lot. I mean, he's shown a lot in the last couple seasons. And I mean, to make it this far in the playoffs, to keep his cool and drive them down and take into a position to where they've essentially won the game, right? Like the Chiefs should not have won that game. That should have been the Bills game 100%. But
Yeah.
then Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs turn around and pull a rabbit out of a hat, and now you have it again. So I don't think that they're too far apart. I think that, we're going to see them have great careers. Do I believe Joe Burrow can exploit the Chiefs defense? Yeah. But at the same time, do I believe the Chiefs will ever be completely out of the game? No. They always find some way to make a big play, to be energized and come back. I mean, even if they're down 3 scores, Patrick Mahomes throws one pass to Tyreek Hill that energizes the team, and they're right back in it, just like that. So I just don't think that it's going to be enough. You know what I mean? I don't think that Joe Burrow in that Bengals defense and offense is just going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills game, if the Bills do a squib kick at the end there, it's over. So I don't know. It was poorly managed the last 13 seconds, that's for sure. And the defensive schemes, when a team's got to go really deep downfield, when there's not much time left, you can't rush like 5 people for just do a 3-man rush and have coverage all over the place. So we saw the same thing happen with the Rams Buccaneers game, and blown coverages was a big story this past weekend.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the NFC matchup. We got the 49ers versus the Rams. Who's winning? Nick, go ahead and kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, who saw this coming? I think we all thought it was going to be Packers Buccaneers, which would have been a better game. This is not going to be a good game, in my opinion. But I'm going to pick the Rams to win this one, not because I think Matthew Stafford's the better quarterback or anything, but just think the way Odell Beckham Jr. has played since he's come over has totally transformed this team. He's been fantastic. Cooper Kupp had the most receiving yards of the season. So those two together, it's going to be tough for the 49ers. And I think McVay is definitely a better coach than Kyle Shanahan. So I'll pick the Rams to win this game.
Very interesting. I'm going to disagree on that. It's not going to be as good a game. I know that if we had Packers and Bucks, it would have been a very offensive game per se, right? I mean, you got 2 great quarterbacks. Is that sort of what you're getting at? Now, in this game, though, you've got 2 defenses that are playing very well. I mean, the Rams, they
I don't know. The Rams defense looked really bad last week, Anthony. They were up by 26 points, and they gave 26 points unanswered. They gave the game, and then they got lucky to win at the end. So
yeah, but I mean, you are going against Tom Brady at that point, and I mean, Mike Evans, Tom Brady. I mean, that connection is that's a pretty hard team to keep a lid on. I mean, regardless of how the defense played, I think that they played well enough to keep the Rams in a winning position, because they could have easily blown that game, like you're saying, but they held on to win it. So it's like Tom Brady, Gronkowski. I mean, that's a powerful offense to be like, oh yeah, we're going to blank them or keep them to under 17 points.
Mm-hmm. I'm more referring to, and perhaps that was a bit of a blanket statement that the whole defense played well. Aaron Donald was effective. I think we agree on that. Von Miller was effective. So what's Jimmy Garoppolo going to do when those guys are coming at him? I mean, I don't know. Obviously he threw for just over 130 yards against the Packers. Will that happen again this week? Does Jimmy Garoppolo have to step it up? Absolutely. He has to throw for at least 2 touchdowns to beat the Rams, right?
Yeah, I believe that.
So
I'm taking the Rams in this one. The Rams are looking impressive right now. They're riding a high, and I think they'll take this one pretty easily. Mina Kimes actually made a really interesting point that the 49ers are winning with Jimmy Garoppolo and not because of him. And I 100% agree with that statement. He's the quarterback that can get it done, just like Daniel Jones. I mean, you put a good team around Daniel Jones, a better squad around Daniel Jones, he might be able to take a team to the playoffs and stuff like that. Just like right now, they're coached really well. I think Kyle Shanahan does a really good job out there coaching those guys up and making good game plans and game schemes and stuff like that. He incorporates the running game really well, and he likes to stick to it. Even if it's not the most productive thing in the world, he still wants to get the runs in there just so it keeps the defense honest. And I think it's a good philosophy, but I think he comes up short against the Rams. I mean, honestly, they only put up 10 points against the Packers, and with that Rams defense, I mean, the Packers defense is nowhere near the Rams defense, in my opinion. I mean, when you compare them, like the Rams defense is leaps and bounds ahead of the Packers defense. So if they could only put up 10 points against that defense, how are they going to put up more than 10 points against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey? I mean, that's a really tough defense to score points on and get one on over. And I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo has enough to get it done.
Well, like, how do you combat those two great pass rushers as a quarterback?
Well, I mean,
Does anyone want to take that?
your first thing
You
is
gotta-
you have to put in a
You
lot
gotta,
of.
throw, you gotta throw screen passes real quick to Deebo Samuel.
You have
There
to
you go.
keep them from being able to get to the quarterback before he releases the ball. You have to keep them honest by getting that run game
A
going.
lot of running.
Exactly. I mean, and they have to, and when they drop back to pass, they have to have somebody chipping on those guys. They cannot have them, just one-on-one. They have to be double teamed. There has to be chipping. There can't be just Aaron Donald and Von Miller on another guy. That's bad news bears for the 49ers.
Yep. And Von Miller, I mean, this guy's incredible. I remember the strip sack on Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. I mean, this guy's been like a terror in pass rush for now 5-6 seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We might have like another. You guys remember when Eli Manning, towards the end of his career, we played the Cowboys and they just put him on his butt the entire game, and there's that headline in the papers, and he was like, he had the eyes bulging.
Yeah.
We might have that going on with Jimmy Garoppolo.
I could definitely see that.
Right? We might.
All right, so let's slide on over, talk about a little bit of baseball, the lockout. Anthony, if you want to go on ahead and kick off with this one.
Yeah, so MLB lockout still in effect. The two sides, the players union and the owners, met this week at least twice from what I could see. It might have been every day. And what they're discussing is that we are going to have a bonus pool of money set aside for the top 30 players in the statistic of wins above replacement. For players who are in the top in wins above replacement and have 0 to 1 years of service time. So this is for rookies essentially who are very good and who, don't have access to the same money that the older players have. So that's been agreed upon already. They're going to do that this year. Now, the other elements that they're looking at is raising the minimum salary from where it is right now, which is obviously below 600,000-ish. So the players want 775,000, and the owners are proposing 615K. For the owners who have a lot of money, it doesn't seem like raising it 100,000 would be that big of a deal, but they are kind of butting heads over that. And that's basically two of the main things going on. They also wanted to restructure arbitration, which is when players go back and after a few years they want to renegotiate their salaries. Is that about right? I'm looking really dumb right now, but this is some complicated kind of baseball legalese here, and maybe Nick, who used to work at the MLB Network, can help us out.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically what it comes down to is they're negotiating. So the billionaires are fighting with the millionaires to see who gets the money. And it's just a sad situation for the fans because we want the season to happen, but it looks like it's going to be delayed now. I mean, spring training is supposed to start Valentine's Day. There's no way that's going to happen. I think they're going to get a deal done in the next 13, 14 days here. So it's going to be tough. Hopefully we get a full season at least. And it'd be nice if they could start on time, but I think they'll probably start maybe in May because they're going to need a spring training. They need to get warmed up. They can't just go cold into the opening day. And also you have to keep in mind that even if the CBA was resolved tomorrow, they still have to have the rest of free agency. So a lot of players still unsigned.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's that sounds awful. We're gonna go into May. Oh my, this is like 2020 all over again, but a light version. But listen, yeah, I mean, they're quabbling over the billionaires and the owners and the millionaires of the players, and the players want a little better cut. And I sympathize with those players who don't make that much money, the players who make around the minimum salary. Their baseball season's a long season, right? So the main reason I sympathize with it is that the amount of time that they dedicate. It's football. You're pretty much training camp in July, and you go till if you don't make the playoffs. If you're a New York Giants player, you go to the beginning of January this year. It used to be end of December. So, there's less time there. That's about 5 months. And then in baseball, what are we talking? Pitchers and catchers report around Valentine's Day. Everybody else a week later or so.
Yeah.
And so we're going from Valentine's Day to October. So it's
8 months.
Yeah. So, the players who are at the bottom of the ladder, they probably don't make enough to either cover their expenses or really, make a profit to sustain their family. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, me personally, I really don't give two velvet paintings of dolphins getting it on about this whole lockout. I'm very dismissive of them and their complaints. They make more money than most of us will make in our lifetimes. They have more opportunity, more exposure. It's not the owner's fault. It's not anybody else's fault that they're not capitalizing on the exposure that they get. I mean, all it takes is for one person to sign a deal, like any rookie. They get exposure right there. Even if they never play football again, they get hurt. That first thing in their careers ended. They have enough exposure to cash in on an ESPN analyst role, or some sort of writing role, maybe even a coaching role. Something else is after that, right? Like sports isn't the end all be all. There are people out there right now who are fighting for, just enough to make sure that they have rent, a roof over their head, their kids got food to eat, clothes on their backs and stuff like that. And these guys are quabbling over who's making, we need to make $6 million a year instead of $4 million a year. And to me, it's like, no one needs that much to live. I mean, I get it. They want to make their money. They want their share of the pie. And as far as I'm concerned, they're getting more than their fair share of the pie. It's not them who has to pay the staff. It's not them who has to pay the taxes on the upkeep of the stadiums and stuff like that. They're not the ones who have to do all that management. All they do, show up and practice. There's a lot of other stuff that's on the owner's plate. There's a lot of other people that the owners have to be responsible for, their livelihoods and stuff like that. So in my opinion, to me, it's all just a bunch of hoo-ha, and they can cry about it, and it does suck as a fan, baseball and all sports when this kind of stuff happens, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I just let them go cry about it, and when they get it resolved, they get it resolved.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the employees of baseball teams, not the players here, because they're all been furloughed and they're not getting paid. So certainly a messed up situation, how it impacts others.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the only owners is Steve Cohen, who paid his employees during 2020 when they were furloughed, when they were off, when they weren't working at the stadium. So, I think I heard like the Angels did that as well, but all the owners should do that.
Yeah, I mean,
they got enough.
Absolutely.
Kellogg's was just in the news because of their people were on strike. You know what I mean? And so it's like people have to put these things in perspective. It's not anybody's fault that these people are spending all this money and living these extravagant lifestyles and stuff like that. You know how much it costs to actually just own one of those Ferraris or Lamborghinis, and just to service it is about $100,000 a quarter. That's not even the car insurance on it. That's not even the gas that you got to put in it. You know what I mean? Like it's just owning it is expensive, and now they have to recoup that, and that's why they want all this money. So to me, it's just a bunch of crap. Anyway, let's wrap this episode up, guys. This was great. We got to do it again sometime. Again, this is Brandon. That's Nick. Anthony. Everybody have a good day. Peace.
Thanks for coming on, Nick.